So we get to one of the most controversial moments, or maybe not moments, but characters of this entire sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I didn't see the orgy
Admiral
coming either.
Holdo. The orgy. Oh God, if only. No. Anyways, that would be weird. Like
Rule 34,
there's aliens
isn't
with
it?
tentacles and stuff. Like
it probably does exist somewhere.
Man, you guys just threw me off.
Sorry.
Yeah, orgy in Star Wars. No, that's fine. So Holdo. Holdo is the next person in charge for the Resistance, because Leia is unconscious after playing Mary Poppins out in space. Ooh, excuse me.
Good God, that was a juicy one.
Yeah, I know, right? Whew, man. And then she's introduced. She is in charge. She gives a speech. I have so many issues with this character from the get-go. She comes off not just condescending to Poe, but she comes off as condescending to everybody. They make no attempt to show why she is the way she is until the very end, and even at the very end, it still doesn't make any sense to me. When it comes to The First Jedi, a lot of people say that there's agendas on the sides of people that are, you hate women in charge.
Yeah.
Not necessarily me, not me or you guys in specific, but there's these claims that. What's that?
Because I've heard people say, and I don't get this. I've heard people claim emasculated the emasculated look.
Right. So there's a lot of people that say those that have issues with Holdo, it all comes from a sexist agenda, which it doesn't. There's legitimate issues with her character, her military leadership, her tone, the way she acts with other characters. I will say, however, given some comments from Kathleen Kennedy, I want to say I heard Rian Johnson say something, but I can't quote it, so I'm not even going to bring that up. But there are things that make me honestly feel that Holdo is a Paul Feig type character that is meant to be the complete opposite of the stereotypical male approved character, if you will, if you go off of what these people are saying. And I think that Holdo has an agenda, and the reason why she is the way she is was somebody, whether it's Johnson, Kennedy, Disney, Lucasfilm, somebody out there somewhere wanted to say, you guys are always telling women to shut up and listen, so we're going to have her tell you to shut up and listen, even though that would never happen in this situation. Cam, or you know what, Jammer, go ahead with you first.
With who first?
Just Holdo in general, her character, go.
I mean, I don't think that is the case. I think maybe she makes some decisions that maybe she shouldn't have. But I think people who say that are easily triggered. Personally, people who say that she is a character created to emasculate men. I don't think that's what she is. I think she has problems, and I would make different decisions from her. But I don't think it is a situation where she is an agenda-driven character in that way.
Okay. Cam? Yeah. Oh, sorry, you're not done?
I mean, that's basically it.
Okay. Cam, do you think she's got an agenda behind her from off camera, or it's just character flaws?
No, I just think she's a badly written character. I don't think she's particularly well acted either. I don't think as a leader she does anything that a good leader would do. I don't like her character throughout the film, but I don't feel that that's any kind of some sort of political statement that's being made. I think there's people that just when they're looking for something, you will find it. If you start out with a preconceived idea, you will find the evidence to back that up, because that's what you're looking for, and you will ignore the evidence that goes against it. And I think that's all that's going on here, is people are saying that if they didn't like the movie, this is why. There's a reason, there's a root cause to this, and it actually, funnily enough, backs up with my political views at the same time. I think it's just a microcosm for the kind of current political stuff that's going on in the background. I think we have to take this as a movie. As a character, I don't like her, but I didn't look at it any more than that.
And here's a little bit of why I think that there is potentially, like I said, I can't say for 100% there is, but part of the reason why I think there is part of an agenda for her, that it's kind of like that shut up and smile joke from Captain Marvel. The reason why I think there's some of that there is all of her flaws, all of the things that she does that are messed up, they don't come off at any point as a character flaw. There's no point at where we get a realization from her or any of the other characters that, oh, she was wrong. From beginning of her first scene to where she light speed jumps into the fleet, there's nothing that explains all of these bad decisions being a character flaw.
Because I don't think Johnson saw her as a flawed character. He didn't see her that way. He saw it as that this was a reasonable thing to do. But I think looking back over all the other stuff we've looked at in the film, Johnson doesn't really understand the whole military kind of thing at all.
He doesn't. And neither does a lot of Hollywood.
Another area where he fucks up on that front.
So, and I promise you, Jammer, I really do. I suspend my military experience all the time for Hollywood, and there's a lot of things that, I just accept it. But some things, like I said, dealing with like tactics, just from being a video gamer, bug me. And
but the thing is, you can't separate that from who you are. You are a military person who's interested in military, and you can't say, well, I'm cutting off that aspect and focusing on my video game experience. That's not how it works.
No, but I'm saying is there are ways that I can absolutely say, even if I had never spent a day as an army brat, never read a military book, if I'm trying to play with strategy, okay.
But you don't know. The thing is,
I know lots of people that have absolutely no military experience, and even they will point to things tactically in this movie that make no sense. So,
but here's the thing: even if we just go back to the movie again, it actually doesn't make sense in the movie. In the movie, it causes all this other stuff to then happen, and Johnson doesn't seem to see that as being an issue. That she is, by her secretive nature, by her dismissal of Poe for what appears to be no particularly apparent reason, why wouldn't she tell everybody what the plan was? It doesn't, was she worried there was an Imperial spy there that was going to leak it? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you do that?
There's other staff that she doesn't tell. Poe gets a whole group of people that agree with him to take over for her.
An actual mutiny in the rebellion.
It's not just him that she's not telling. She's not telling anybody anything.
What is the benefit of that? Why would a leader do that? A leader would never do something like that. You don't need to have any military experience to realise that. You just have to have some fucking common sense.
Well, I guess that's my question to you, Kyle, is how much would someone in that position tell someone, and at what level would they tell the plan?
So, so all your commanders, so let's say that she's in charge of the whole fleet, okay? So you would want each captain from each of the other ships, they should know exactly what's going on. And then your military assets, so your starfighter command and your army command. So the people in charge of the ground troops and the people in charge, because her goal is to get these. What
do you mean by ground troops? They don't have ground troops. What does that mean?
No, I'm saying if. I'm saying if.
But then you've also
because at some point she's going to have to appoint somebody to be ground forces once they do reach Crate to do security operations and to take care of the ground just in case, right? You're still going to want people to keep an eye out for the First Order coming.
Prep all the drop ships, get the supplies into the drop ships, manage the fuel.
And there's no way, let's say they do manage to sneak off, they manage to cloak off and get to that planet. There's no way the First Order says that planet was that close, we're going to ignore it. They're going to check that planet out even after they blow up the capital ship.
So they can just fly straight to that planet. They must see it coming up in their sensors. I mean, we're talking about, they have galactic maps and shit like that, so they know they're coming to this place.
I agree 100%. Poe should have been at least taken out of his command position. You're no longer in charge of starfighters. And then I would still accept the Canto Bite mission because he's been fired. Now he doesn't know because he's been fired, not just demoted, but fired.
if he's in the brig,
or if he's in prison and he's working. Like, there's so many ways you could have done the exact thing where Poe is out of the loop, but it would have been better. It would have worked better. But when he's able to get an entire crew to mutiny, to basically invoke, hey, you're putting us in danger, so we're taking over, which in some instances, things like that can actually happen, depending on the country, depending on war and rules of engagement, all that type of stuff. But
Kyle,
there's.
Let me ask you this: once the message of what's happening's been spread, surely there's a drop down effect where that commander has been told then tells his staff.
Yes, because everybody's got a mission, everybody's got a job.
So here's what we're doing. You wouldn't just
this is your part of the pie.
Fix those pipes very quickly.
Yes,
why? I can't tell you why.
You compartmentalize things, and like I said, she should have said, "Here's what starfighters are doing. Here's what Here's what I need each ship that's left in the fleet to be doing. The maintenance crews. This is what I need you to do." And each of those leaders then goes back to their subordinates and feeds them their portion of the pie.
This thing creates a problem with the whole middle of this film for me, which is that Canto Bite doesn't even need to exist. I mean, really,
that's not
you just
true.
don't need to have that. I don't. Again, we'll get to it when we get to it. But I don't. I don't see what its purpose is. If Holdo had been a decent leader at the start, they could have been planning all this, and we could have spent more time with Kylo Ren and Snoke, which I felt were my favourite bits of the film, and we didn't get enough of it.
Yeah, I will say 100% that if she had been a better leader, even with Poe still trying to do things against her because he's out of the loop, let's say he was fired, put in the brig, anything like that, there's still absolutely no reason for everybody else to be left in
Rose
dark.
Would know what's going on, for example.
And her overall plan makes no sense because the First Order is still going to check that planet out, even if they see the capital ships being destroyed, because they were obviously going there.
Not only that, but there is no way that they're watching that ship intently and they don't notice all those escape pods footing off down to a planet.
Well, they said that there was. They said that there was a cloaking program, and I believe that there is cloaking in Star Wars. That's fine. And then it's the Del Toro character, Benicio Del Toro's character, that tells them, hey, they're using cloaks. So they explain that. I'm fine with that. But regardless of whether or not they saw those ships go to Crate, it's standard procedure to go ahead and check that. They're obviously trying to get to that planet. And that would have meant either A, even if we've destroyed them, maybe there's already some backup forces there. So it would have made sense to go to that planet. Her whole plan makes zero tactical, logical sense.
Well, I mean, the thing is, what would you have done in her position?
Told everybody what to do.
I mean, the thing is, the plan is, like, going to the planet, that's their best bet, regardless of whether or not it makes sense.
Well,
sure everybody knew the plot.
Once they know.
No, I get that. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Like, yeah, her telling the plan, that would have made sense. But the fact is, going to the planet, that's their best bet.
Poe's idea of trying to sneak somebody on to the.
Bless you.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. When Poe figures out from Maz, hey, you can, when Rose and Finn figure out that they're being tracked through hyperspace, which I agree with Cam, we should have ignored the fuel thing and done similar to 33 on Battlestar and had them continuously jump and being followed. That would have created a lot of the same tensions that you see.
It gives a better reason for them to quickly cloak off, and then one person stays behind to kind of like pilot the next jump for the ship as well. Again, narratively, it all starts to make more sense as a movie then when you get to the end.
And you get rid of the whole thing of why, the First Order, the First Order definitely has dozens more fighters, TIE fighters, than the Resistance has. The Resistance only has what look like 2 frigates and 1 capital class ship.
And I have to mention this one point about this slow chase as well, because absolutely to me, we go back to Empire Strikes Back, and I mentioned this, that I was going to bring this up in Empire Strikes Back, but when they're chasing the Millennium Falcon through the asteroid field, is there ever any kind of concern for anybody that they can't support the fighters? You know, little ships
they send the fighters there. They've got dozens of them. They're expendable.
Care about that, and the fighters can fly forward, attack. They can come back, refuel, and they can fly forward again. It's not that difficult.
And we hear this from Holdo. Holdo talks about the galaxy is under oppression by the First Order, and what we know is the First Order basically just took over a few hours ago, a couple days ago.
I mean,
maybe
you make it sound like politicians wouldn't do that to incite.
No.
fervor.
But what I'm getting at is the First Order has a lot of ships. So at what point, why didn't they have another fleet come in and jump in front of?
And that's what Vader would have done. Vader would have did this, calculate their trajectory, send 3 ships in front, cut them off, and that movie over. There's
literally nothing. Like I said, even looking at video games, just strictly from what you would do if you were slow behind people, but you had some faster ships and you knew they're smaller, but you knew you had more of them, you would go and send ahead and send those smaller, faster ships to take out the couple of big enemy ships. Or if you had the resources, you would have jumped ahead or brought in another fleet. There's literally, I mean, that's talking StarCraft, Command and Conquer.
But the thing is that we're given little information as to all of that stuff. Like, we don't know how close any of that stuff is, if that would have been possible. Period. Like, you're assuming it would have been possible
through hyperspace jumps. Yes, absolutely.
How quickly,
as long as they were chasing them.
But how quickly are they able to do that? Is my question.
Look, I'm guessing that the First Order is so prolific that they had the material to build multiple dreadnoughts, multiple Star Destroyers, and Starkiller Base.
You don't have information.
All they need is one ship.
I know, but how do they?
One of those side.
How do we know how long it's going to take to get there? That's my question. It's not instantaneous.
No, one of those side Star Destroyers. They have like 5 Star Destroyers, 5 or 6 Star Destroyers, in addition to Snoke's flagship. All they had to do was send 2 Star Destroyers ahead, jump a short hyperspace jump ahead and pincer them off. Or the TIE fighters, we know for a fact that they've got plenty of TIE fighters on those spacecraft, and they know that the Resistance barely has anything. They've got 2 frigates, one of which is a medical frigate, so it's highly lightly armed. Probably doesn't have because they even mention it in the movie. Their medical frigate. Medical frigates aren't usually heavily armored or armed. Don't have a lot of laser cannons for defense, and so you could overwhelm them with their TIE fighters. There's literally no way to rationalize this chase. But if they had done the hyperspace jumps.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say, but if they had done the hyperspace jumps, you eliminate all of those problems, Jammer, and you've got an actual thing that makes sense. And what's more important for what me is a boring film, that's exciting, because every time they have to jump out of hyperspace, you've got a battle throughout the whole middle part of the film. Far more interesting. Last point on that is those shields on that frigate that are at the back that are just protecting against constant bombardment, they're the best shields we've seen in Star Wars so far, right? I mean, you've got 5 Star Destroyers that can all be aiming weapons that basically travel at the speed of light.
And only Snoke's weapon is firing.
Honestly, the whole thing doesn't make sense. And you say, if that doesn't make sense, the whole middle of the movie doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So, Jammer, any last rebuttals on any of that about the chase?
So I've been told all that stuff before, and I get what you're saying, but when I'm watching the movie, I just don't care. They're able to get enough done in terms of all the character stuff that I just don't care. And even I was looking for it this time around, and I just didn't care. Like, I'm not gonna lie, just did not care. Did not bother me.
It's not exciting.
So let's.
No, I was super excited. I was excited the whole time. Like, I had no problem suspending my disbelief for all of this stuff. It didn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, that's the great things about having individual thought.
Yeah, and I just don't have any I don't have enough knowledge in military stuff or in this stuff to be able to let it bother me. Like, for me, the logic. For me, we were given so little information about the world, about the state of things, that in my head it's okay, well, there's no one that's close enough to where they are to where they could get there,
except
even
for their own ships.
The problem you've got
is
this is Star Wars. This is not fucking some other franchise. This isn't Terminator, where you go, well, if the robots sort of get some cool action scenes, I really don't give a fuck. This is Star Wars. People pick this apart and analyse it. People are obsessed with it. Both of us have got Star Wars tattoos on our body. This is an obsession, and Johnson must know when he's going into it. He says he was a Star Wars fan. How much of a Star Wars fan really was he if he doesn't get this stuff and he doesn't get why?
Or maybe he's a fan in a different way. He's more into mythology and the character stuff and the orders than in the military tactician stuff. No, than the military stuff.
Then he either needs to bring somebody in that understands Star Wars a little bit better, or they should never have brought him in the first place.
All right, so here we go, guys. We all know where everybody stands on this scene and who cares about what, which is great. Love it. It's an awesome conversation. Let's talk about Poe, Finn, and Rose Tico. We kind of missed over Finn meeting Rose. I actually thought that was kind of funny when he was trying to go find Rey.
Yeah, it worked.
I was fine with that. Yeah, okay. So I want to make sure we're all good with that. I don't know how I ended up skipping over that, but we did. So anyways, Finn and Rose go to tell Poe about their plan. We get to meet a fun little scene with Maz, and she's running around. She's fighting somebody. There's a good joke about trade negotiations and that being boring. You don't want to hear anything about it. My only thing I have to say about that, who was holding Maz's camera?
Her assistant. Her assistant, duh.
Yeah, maybe she has like a floating droid or something. It was just a funny thing.
Weird.
I despise this scene.
Really?
This is
because
horrible.
Go ahead.
Why would they this is purely been done to put Maz Kanata into this film. That's all it's for. You could have had just a normal radio message. The whole having her shooting in the background, she didn't seem like much an action character in The Force Awakens. And then she jetpacks away at the end. I hated the way it was shot. I hated the way it was acted. And I thought it should be cut out.
I feel like this is a lot of feelings for a very whatever scene. It's just like it's a really goofy, weird scene. Like I feel like it doesn't warrant this much reaction.
Very seldom. I use hate very seldom. But the first
bullshit.
time I watched this,
you hate very seldom. God.
Because hate's such a strong word. So I'll say I dislike something. You know what I mean? But I very rarely would say I absolutely hate this. You know what I mean? But I really.
I'm the hate guy. I'm the hate guy.
I don't.
Let me.
I mean, I don't have the scene. I can understand why it's not up people's. It's not people's like whatever. If they don't like it, whatever. That's not a big deal. I don't. I nothing did. For me, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Star Trek, the reboot, where what was it? They end up in the pipes of the ship, and it's what it is. It is a situation where I can imagine an exec saying, "This is too much of a static scene. You should have something a little bit more active." And then they're like, okay, let's do something active then. Let's have her being in a fight. And then it's just like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, fine. It helps keep the attention spans, whatever. I don't care that much about it. Let's move on.
Too, but is she a soldier? Last we met her, she owned a bar. And I know the bar...
Well, we know that she says that she's
part
not
of the resistance. What?
There's no...
Considering she runs that bar, I think she could scrap. I'll say this, Cam. I'll say this, Cam. She runs that bar... filled with scum and villainy. And we know she's, excuse me, at least I've had a Diet Dr. Pepper, so she's at least force sensitive. I believe she could scrap. I believe she could hold her own in a gunfight. I didn't even mean for this whole conversation to start.
I was surprised. I was like, oh my god, this is like a 30-second scene.
I don't like
Let's
the
move on.
character in The Force Awakens anyway, right?
Okay.
I thought it was just another stupid moment to just have it so that you could say Maz Kanata was in this. That's all.
I don't know if anyone's out there going like, okay, we need to make sure Maz Kanata's in this movie. I don't know if that's like that's like a thing.
All right, guys, let's get back to Luke and Rey. All right, I thought the whole thing of who's holding her camera was funny. It would have been a droid, but I thought it was kind of funny.
I thought it was funny too. I thought it was weird. She's sitting there with a GoPro attached to her head that like detaches as soon as she launches.
Yeah, that's not Star Wars.
Here is one of the worst dialogue scenes in everything dealing with Rey and Luke. When Rey literally asks Luke to bring the Jedi back there near where he's going to train her, there's that small pool with a picture of, like, I think they called it the proto-Jedi, like the first Jedi. It's like a mosaic type picture on the floor. Her actual acting in the scene, I don't know if it's the writing, but this scene was very uncomfortable for me, very cringy. Her literally asking Luke, hey, I need you to come and bring the Jedi back. It just, I don't know if it was the tone, I don't know what it is, but to me, the delivery and the dialogue suffers in this scene. Did either of you guys notice that?
No, I don't even know specifically what is said in the scene. What exactly? I don't think so.
No, she's literally asking, "Will you? We need you to come back and bring the Jedi back."
And what does
I think
he say?
She says the words "bring the Jedi back," and then he goes into his whole thing about no, can't do that. The Jedi are part of the problem. This is where he starts some of that conversation we were having earlier.
Where he
that we
talks about
thought should have happened on the.
where he talks about
Millennium
how the
Falcon.
legacy is failure.
Yes.
That scene.
Yes.
Oh, I love that scene. I agree 100% with Luke.
No, I'm not saying
agree with
disagree. I'm
him?
saying the delivery,
yeah.
the actual delivery,
How
it
can
feels
you agree
off.
with him?
What do you mean? How do I agree with him?
How
Somehow,
can you agree with him?
in the peak of society, they managed to overlook this thing, and I could see him from his perspective thinking that exposes extreme hubris inherent in the Jedi ways.
And yet, by him becoming a Jedi, he actually fixed all that. And Darth
No,
Vader
he didn't.
turned back to the good side.
He clearly
His
didn't.
actions-
That's the thing, is he didn't, because it's perpetuating down the line, and it's going to keep going so long as the Jedi continue to be a thing. So he's thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to make sure
So,
that
wait a minute,
it no
how
longer
do you
is a
think they're
thing.
going to resolve this at the end of the Rise of Skywalker? Then do you think they're going to have that? There's no Jedi left. There's no bad guys left.
No,
Or do
I'm
think
telling
they're
you
gonna
what his
exist?
perspective is. I'm telling you what his perspective is. I'm telling you, he sees the
this
Jedi
is
as
a-
an inherent problem. As you train people, there's going to be dark that rises up to meet it, and it can be from within.
Right.
You can't prevent it. It's going to happen. And why not just prevent Jedi from existing? That way you never have that gigantic
Right,
danger
because
existing in the
we had
first
this-
place.
Because people will still have the Force, and people will not
Don't
be
tell.
trained. and they'll-
I'm just saying what he's thinking. I'm just saying what he's thinking.
It's stupid.
I don't think it's stupid. I think it makes sense
So,
considering his experience, where his
we-
family is broken. It happened to his dad. He had to fight it constantly.
And yeah,
he almost
brought his
succumbed to
dad
it many
back, who
times.
fulfilled
And
the
his
prophecy and
nephew.
brought balance back to the Force, and he killed the Emperor
That
and
prophecy
destroyed
is
the Sith.
bullshit. Brought balance back to the Force. That doesn't mean shit. That don't mean
It's the
jack
whole
shit.
point. It's the whole
Nah,
point
it don't
of
mean
episode
shit.
1 to 6.
It never happened. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. Like,
It's
it
the
never
entire
culminates.
story of 1
It never
to 6.
culminates. It never
It does
culminates.
culminates.
Nah.
Well,
it
it
Oh, we
did in
should not-
Jedi. It did in
Kyle,
Jedi.
back
It
me up
culminated.
here. That the powerful moment at the end of Jedi when all of this culminates, and
That was the
and
prophecy
Vader
But
fulfilled.
how
makes
is that balance?
decision.
How is that balance? How is destroying
I've just
two evil
explained
things
this
bringing
earlier on,
balance?
because
I don't get it.
Because they were skewing the balance heavily in favor of the dark side. That's what. The
How
Sith
is
do,
two
because
people
they use it
skewing
for
the balance
themselves.
heavily in favor of the dark side?
Because they told you that throughout the entire prequel trilogy that's what was happening.
Sorry,
They-
I don't think I was paying attention throughout most of the prequel trilogy, I guess.
Oh, I mean, I can't blame you for that because it was shit. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what Yoda's talking about, even right at the start of Attack of the Clones, is that the dark side's become so powerful that the Jedi can't see the future in the same way as they used to because it's completely clouded by the dark side. That's what I said earlier on when I was in. There's still at that point only 2 Sith, and there's all these Jedi, but Anakin himself, being the chosen one, and he's in the light side by this point, is kind of holding it together. He's like, in the Wheel of Time books, they talk about Tavern, right? People who destiny skews around. Anakin is that figure in Star Wars.
You know, the thing is, I think
when he turns bad, everything goes to shit. When he turns back to good, everything gets better again.
I just
based
never
in his life.
bought it.
He's
I'll
supposed
say
to be
this.
a
I'll say this.
prophesized chosen one.
This is how the prophecy, because this prophecy has been a big discussion in Star Wars since it was mentioned in the Phantom Menace, right? And I think it was just recently, a year or two ago, that they released the full text of the prophecy. The balance isn't that there would be no more darkness, just that there would be light to meet the darkness when it did rise.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the darkness rose too fast, too much, and the light couldn't meet it.
Yep.
It took Luke bringing Vader back to take out the darkest shadow, not all shadows, because there would be more waiting,
Yep.
but allow now for the light to meet the darkness once again.
Okay, and I think the problem
that's
with
how
I think
that
the problem
prophecy
with that
was
is that prophecy
fulfilled.
was created for the prequels and it isn't at all mentioned ever in the original trilogy. So it's not really,
It
don't
doesn't
get me
matter though,
don't get me
because
wrong, but it doesn't change.
In the original trilogy, it matches up though because they still, because of the way they end it, it fits perfectly. So if he goes back and he fits, the prophecy was never the problem with the prequels, setting Anakin up as being this destined figure. That was never an issue. Because it fits perfectly with what then happens at the end of it. The problem is that Disney wanted to make 3 more movies, And to make 3 more movies, they had to bring back the bad guys. So they just
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the reality, though. Here's the thing, though, is that you have a world where that happens. Nothing's ever going to stay in status quo forever. Like, things are always going to go back and forth. There's going to be an ebb and flow.
But here's the thing. How did Anakin actually achieve that prophecy in the first place if Snoke was around somewhere at the same time anyway, which he must have been, we assume, 30 years ago? Well, Snoke doesn't look like he's 10. Do you know what I mean?
We don't know.
We don't have enough information to know that.
Snoke on that one.
No, we don't, and we should have got it.
No, I don't think so.
We'll talk a little bit more about Snoke when we get to his death scene. So we're going to get to Canto Bite, all right? This is another one of those scenes that a lot of people cannot stand. I think it looks very out of place. The clothing, the tuxedos, the dresses feels out of place. I get it that it's a different type of planet. One thing that really, really does bug me and seems like poor writing to me is the whole parking thing. That meme I sent you guys a couple weeks ago about how it's all due to a parking violation. Yep. I don't see how Finn or Rose would purposefully leave a vehicle in a place after being told, hey, you can't leave it here, knowing that it would either A, be towed, B, be blown up, C, cause issues for them later on in their mission. I don't buy anybody sitting there that nobody knows they're on a secret mission. They could have easily just parked it at the Starfighter parking lot, you know? At the there's a word for it. What do you call it? A harbor or some shit like that.
Why they literally throw them out of the casino and put them in jail for parking violation?
Yeah.
That's a bit
so that really bugs me, but I'm going to cover all of it and then I'll let you guys comment on it. Canto Bite, we get to learn a little bit about Rose and her history as far as kind of being a part of the lower class system of a system that's designed to make money off of other people's suffering, whether it's gambling with races and animals or selling weapons that cause, death and destruction. There's a little bit...
Well, I don't think the implication is that they gain money off of the racing. I think it's that this is them in their leisure after profiteering from the war.
Yeah, I was saying all of it deals with suffering, like the animals suffering, people suffering, like this is all connected.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I was taking it. And but it's connected to her because of where she grew up at. They go looking for their mark, the slicer, the hacker, which I really wish they would have used the word slicer because that's what it was in the EU. I know.
Didn't
EU,
they use the word
Kyle.
slicer?
No, they say hacker. I
could have sworn they said slicer at some point.
At one point he says slicey dice through the shields. I think.
Oh, is that what it is? Because I could have sworn I heard the word slicer at some point in the movie.
Sure he does. I think it's DJ that says it.
But I agree that would have been better. But also, I'm sure they had to say the word hack at least once so that it's clear what they're talking about.
Yeah, I like I said, it's just that's just Kyle being Kyle.
Yeah.
So they find him, but they get arrested. They find what's Del Toro's character's name again?
DJ.
There you go. DJ.
Very imaginative.
Don't join.
Do you remember when they told us we'll find out what the DJ stands for before? I remember writing this news story. Somebody involved
I don't remember that.
Actually said, we'll find out what the DJ stands for more in the film. And everybody was like, that's strange. And then there was nothing.
Yeah, no, we did find out what it stands for.
Did we?
Don't join.
Oh, yeah. I never actually thought of that till now. Oh, there you go.
Then we slice a slit in their shield is the only...
So, that's not his name. That's just what he's referred to based on his philosophy. That's my assumption.
I get it now. Yeah.
Okay. So, they meet him. They do escape. They release the horses as both a distraction and a statement. People have mentioned how, they leave the kids there. It's kind of dumb. And there's this big chase.
You can't ride a kid.
No, you can't. That would be terrible and horrible, and you go to jail for stuff like that.
That's true.
But they make their escape on the horses. DJ shows up with a ship, which all of that could have been avoided if they had not parked on the beach, which made no fucking sense. My biggest issue with all of this, besides that, and besides, I think this scene solely exists because Poe and Finn are both alive and they shouldn't have been after The Force Awakens. I think the CGI for the chase, the horse chases, really, really, really suffers and it takes me out of the moment. Jammer, I know you're a fan of this scene, so I'll let you go ahead and talk about it first.
Mostly. I mean, first of all, I don't think there was a situation where like, well, Finn and Poe shouldn't have been alive, so we're going to put less budget into this. I don't think that was how it worked out.
Not budget, just having that scene, having this mission.
Don't get me wrong, the CG looks wonky.
To give Finn something to do is what I
think I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's what it is. I think, honestly, I really like everything. This ties in. You can't cut this scene out and have the rest of the movie make sense. You can't. I don't have a problem with most of what's going on. I do have a problem with after they break out and start riding the horse things. It just goes on too long. Some of the dialogue from Rose is pretty cheesy. And it's probably one of the weaker aspects, but it was until they actually rode off onto the things, it didn't really bother me. Everything else kind of worked for me. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Kyle, the whole parking ticket thing. Yeah, they could have done that better. It would have been better if they did it in a different way, because that's annoying. But I do like a couple of things. One, I like Finn's overall arc, because in the first one, we saw him go for someone who was purely out for himself to someone who's like, oh, I have a friend. And now it's like, okay, yeah, you have a friend, but the world is bigger than just you and the people you immediately know. And he hasn't learned that yet. And this is him sort of understanding the world around him, the actual impact the war stuff has had on everyone else, and actually learning to give a damn about anyone apart from himself, because his instinct after breaking out would be to just kind of be super selfish about it. So I'm really happy that they have this. I like the idea of it. I also like the idea that they don't end up getting the champion hacker guy. They don't get that guy, because this whole movie is about failure, and it's about learning from your mistakes and about pivoting from your mistakes. And it's just, I just think that was really interesting how we didn't even get to that guy, even though we saw him for a brief second. And I know part of me was still thinking like, oh, maybe DJ is actually the guy she was talking about. But no, it wasn't. They just got the wrong guy and they had to pivot off of it. I just think that was really cool that they were able to do that. And yeah, they're learning lessons from their failures. It's just, I think there's a lot to be said about that message being in a movie where failure is the biggest teacher.
It is. One last question for you about this scene before we get Cam's point of view on it. The music at Canto Bite, I don't like it. Did you like it, or is it nothing to you? It doesn't matter.
I mean, the fact that I don't remember. Do you mean the music that played when we had that one shot from that old silent film where they push over the tables? That scene?
Well, just generally that, and even the chase music. Like, I just don't like the music here.
No, I didn't notice it.
Okay. All right. Too easy. Cam, your take on Canto Bite.
I call it Canto Shite.
He was waiting.
Because
he had that one written down. Make sure call Canto Shite.
I just think this is rubbish. I just don't enjoy it. Again, it doesn't feel like a Star Wars film to me. I think visually it kind of is. It looks a little bit different from the rest of the film, but I'm not really too worried about that, to be honest. He's going for his take on and how visually that planet would look. I'm alright with that. Hate the whole parking thing as well. And this message of like anti-capitalism as well, I'm not quite sure about as well. Like, look at these rich people when there's poor people in the world, you know. Well, I think, we should look at our own society a little bit more before we kind of start looking at that. Are we saying that the rebels?
I mean, I think that's what sci-fi.
Or
that's what sci-fi does, though, is it uses fictional societies to reflect our own.
I know, but I just don't think it was the right place to bring that up. And I think that whole message just was kind of completely lost on me. I just didn't go for it.
I think it's also the fact that you have these specific guys. These are all like war profiteer type people, and they're kind of living in luxury while everyone else is fighting their wars wars that they're benefiting from.
Everyone is. I don't know.
Not everyone, just a lot of them. That's the implication
surely some
I got.
of them are just like really good traders and shit like that, or some people that run the bookies.
Sure.
And those racehorses, if they're like our racehorses, well, they wouldn't be able to survive in the wild. So that's like somebody running into a film where somebody runs into the racetrack and frees all the thoroughbred horses. Free, born free, free as a foul tear.
To be fair, here's the thing. To be fair, the thing is that they didn't intend to like say, oh, we're gonna free all of them. That's our mission. It's like, no,
it's a distraction.
Yeah, it's a distraction. So they can get away. So they can get away.
I don't like it.
It is until the end when she
lets it go. She lets it go. Yeah, it feels better.
Goes, now it's worth it. Now
Yeah, it'll be
worth
rounded
it.
up the next day, but that doesn't change the fact that they were mostly
Then it's
they being
not
used
worth
to
it then.
escape.
It's not been worth it. It's fucking stupid. At that point, they think they've failed in their mission. So the rebels are going to die. Because DJ hasn't turned up at this point, so they think they're fucked. The rebels are going to die. They're never going to get a code breaker. That's it. But it's all been worth it because they freed those horses. That's literally what is happening in that scene at that moment in time. That is what that character is feeling based on the moments that are happening on the screen at that time. And then DJ turns up and it's we've got another chance. Sorry, but that's fucking stupid. No one in their right mind would trade that above the mission that they're on. That should have been the
They didn't trade it. It wasn't like, oh, we could either succeed in the mission or free these things.
No,
like, it wasn't like...
And all of this would have... All of it could have been prevented if they would have just parked where they were supposed to.
It just doesn't work for me. Sorry.
And you still could have had a failure, like there could have been a bar fight or something to lead to them getting arrested.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah.
So yeah, but it is what it is. They get off of Canto Bite. We get back to Luke and Rey. This is Luke's second listen. This is where we kind of skipped over something. Damn it, I did it again. Hold on. Where's my notes? Where does she go down to the dark side? Okay, nope. We're not there yet. We're good. I'm still in order. So Luke tells
about like Rey and Kylo's force connection, which is come in by this point.
Yes, that's what we're at. I thought we had missed the dark side cave. I wanted to make sure I didn't. But yeah, so Rey and Kylo have had a couple of connections. We forgot to mention one earlier, but they've got a much deeper one now. And they actually have a conversation after she had just recently asked Luke back at the first lesson, will you please come and help us? And he's like, no. And so she's talking to Ben about this. They can see each other, but they can't see where each other are at. Shirtless Ben seemed kind of like an odd choice. But I mean, we get gratuitous nudity.
I remember that. It became a meme.
Because I just don't like his high
pants were so high. Yeah.
I mean, those are coming back. Those are back.
Yeah, I can't stand high-waisted
Kylo
pants.
Ren brought them back.
He was ahead of the curve.
I was just gonna kind of make a joke that we get gratuitous female nudity, so this was gratuitous male nudity, but it's different because dudes can walk around shirtless anyways. It's just a joke, yeah. So they're having their conversation. And Luke had actually lied, basically, or lie of omission to Rey when she asks about what had happened with Kylo. And Luke leaves out the part that he, for a moment, thought about killing his nephew. And then we were told, Kylo tells her his version of it, okay? I want to know why Luke kind of left that out in the beginning. I think it was because Ryan's trying to pull an Obi-Wan Kenobi from a certain point of view type thing. But that lie of omission about his moment of weakness with Kylo Ren really upsets her relationship with Luke. Cam, did you have any issues with that at all? Or do you think it's perfectly fine the way it's written?
What, in terms of the whole connection thing?
No, Luke failing to tell her about his moment of weakness, and then Kylo tells her
why he didn't do that, because he's ashamed of it. He blames himself at this point. So I fully accept that Luke at this point wouldn't tell somebody he doesn't really know his kind of deepest, darkest secret, because that's the thing that's holding him back. But I feel like, again, this is at the point where things should start progressing for Luke when he gets that off his chest and he's able to explain it from his point of view. But I just want to kind of say I really loved the whole force connection thing.
Yes.
I kind of liked it less when I heard Snoke had done it a little bit, but that's kind of irrelevant. Not a major thing, but I just thought it was a really cool thing to have, because these are the two characters that are pivotal to this. But I actually thought at this point they were going down a maybe Kylo redeeming himself in this movie, and then the two of them going against sort of maybe Snoke in the third one. That's where my brain was going at this point. Mm-hmm. It didn't go that way. But
so I'm guessing you agree with Cam on this one, Jammer, that the Luke lie of omission completely fine.
Yeah, and I actually didn't even see this as more of a certain point of view thing. I almost looked at it as kind of a Rashomon thing. The old Japanese movie where you have the same story being told from several different perspectives and you get to see it different each time. So I thought it was more of like a film homage as well. Yeah, I like it.
The Force connection, like we're talking about, I think is a great thing, and it gives us some of the best. Look, people can say what they want about Rey. Other than that one scene I was talking about earlier when she's asking Luke to help, bring the Jedi back. I go back. I'm going to send you guys the clip and tell me if you think maybe it was just an off day for filming, but I felt like the delivery was off.
Yeah, it might have been. There are a couple lines where she's like that, like when it was one of the Force things where she says, "You murderous snake," and I was like, well, that was a bit intense. Like she has a couple of lines like that are a bit weird.
Yeah, but her and Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver are amazing in this scene together.
Yes.
Emotionally, they're amazing. And you guys know from past podcasts, I'm a huge fan of facial expressions and body language in acting.
Sorry.
Yep.
No, I am.
I know, it's just funny to say I'm a fan of facial expressions. If you stick on my dating profile, I'm a fan of those.
Yes. I enjoy long walks on the beach and facial expressions. So don't tell my wife I've got a dating profile, damn it. Come on now. Anyways, I loved everything about this scene, including when Luke walks in and freaks out over this and he blasts the walls with the Force. He immediately, seeing Kylo, wakens him up to the Force like nobody's fucking business.
No, well, he opened himself up prior to that to check on Leia.
Well, yeah, to check on Leia.
So that's
but
where it
the
came
fact that
from.
he's
He had
fully
opened
in
himself
control
up
of
by
it
that
now.
point.
Yeah, the fact that he's got all of it back to be able to do that, and the fact that Kylo triggers it was really, I think it was a powerful moment. Jammer, anything else you want to talk about this Kylo Rey touching hands, this whole scene, getting up to right before Luke and Rey fight?
Sorry, looking at my notes here. No, nothing there. I liked it just like you did, and I think the acting's great, and yeah, I have no problems.
Absolutely. Okay, so Luke busts in, walls fly off, Luke and Rey have their big discussion, and they have a fight. It's with her staff, and he uses a stick. He rips that. It looks like an antenna or something like that. And he beats her at first, and then she pulls out the lightsaber in a moment of her own weakness and anger and disappointment. I think Rey probably has a lot of disappointment by this point. I love how Luke uses the Force to steady himself instead of falling straight on the stairs. She decides she's going to go off and do her own thing. This fight scene, Jammer, any positives or negatives?
I don't think she actually beat Luke here. He basically beat her, and then I feel like, because he did hold himself up from hitting the stairs, and I think he was kind of just waiting to see what she would do with the lightsaber. So yeah, I thought it worked pretty well emotionally. I got it, and I think it worked because I didn't feel like she actually beat him, even though she was able to pull the lightsaber and kind of seemingly back him into a corner. I think they managed to make it work.
Okay, Cam?
Yeah, I actually agree. I know Seth hates this scene because he feels like Rey beat Luke and she should never have beat Luke, but I think Luke actually is pretty easily dealing with her when it's just stick versus stick. It's the fact that she then brings the lightsaber, and he had never thought to do that. He wasn't trying to be aggressive, but when she does and she brings it towards him, he has to sit back. He can't fight against that, so he sits back, he stops himself from falling, and he kind of resigns himself to that he's going to have to talk about this.
I think he would have, if she had actually followed through, I think he would have just force pushed her off. I think it would have been fine. I don't think he at all felt threatened. It was more just oh, is this another bad egg? And he just kind of wanted to see what's going to happen here.
It kind of goes back to when...
And plus, he's willing to die at this point, so does he care if she kills her? Maybe that just proves his point.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of ties back to the dark side cave when she goes down. When
Are we getting
earlier
there yet?
When he's like,
are we there yet?
We're getting there.
Okay,
we're getting there now. Earlier when she has her first lesson and she goes down there mentally, and he's like, "You went straight for the darkness," and then you have this moment with her, almost killing him. But let's go ahead and talk about the dark side cave.
That's confusing. I didn't like it. It felt like Empire. Okay, let's move on. Next.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like it. It was visually cool, but like I don't understand it.
Yeah,
Do you
visually
think this
cool,
is?
but I thought the only thing that made sense to me was if they were trying to hint at clones.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think, Jammer, that this hints at clones?
I mean, now no, I don't. I don't think so.
The
Or maybe
problem
they
is,
do.
I think it would have been cool if it was, but I don't think that's the way they're going with this next movie. So I think it'll end up coming to nothing.
For me, it kind of felt like the nightmare sequence from Batman v Superman, where I'm like, that might make sense later, but it doesn't now. I'm gonna just move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't, like I said, I never liked that Empire scene where he fights himself. I was like, okay, well, I'm bored. Give me a second here. I like the visuals with her snapping her fingers and saying things, and I get the
Empire. It was so important because that was.
I get it, but it was
failure that if he just tries to kill Vader, he'll just become him.
I mean, I could say both scenes
lesson.
are important for their characters, like because that one is important for Luke's character. He doesn't want to be Vader, and this scene is important because it really shows how lost Rey is and how much she needs validation from someone else in order to move forward in her life. But that doesn't stop them from being a little boring to me.
Okay.
This isn't the first time that we've had some Empire Strike, and it's not the last time that we have some Empire Strikes Back beats. I remember seeing the trailers and watching this movie the first time, really being upset at how much similarities to Empire Strikes Back there was. I understood it for Force Awakens. I understood the soft reboot idea. Were either of you guys disappointed that there were so many Empire beats to this movie, Jammer?
This doesn't feel at all like Empire to me. It feels...
Okay, Cam?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think the things that they should have made the same were made different, and the things that should have been different were made the same. I think there's a lot of beats in this that are supposed to be like Empire Strikes Back, and unlike that film, doesn't nail them very well. For example, we're not got to it yet, but Crate and the way it visually looks the same as Hoth. It's got the same kind of walkers, but they make... I will get to that, but... there are a lot of similarities to me, and I don't like some of them.
Let's talk Yoda. Rey...
Sorry,
go ahead.
My cat. Sorry.
Oh, your cat?
Bye.
Okay. So Rey has decided to leave. She's going to go off on her own. She takes Chewie and BB-8 and R2 with her. Yeah, she's got R2 with her. And Luke has decided he's going to end it. He doesn't want her coming back and getting these Jedi books, and he's going to burn down the temple or the library. And we see Yoda. I got to ask this. My theater cheered when they saw Yoda. Cam, did your theater cheer, you weird European people?
I think there maybe have been a couple of people, but ultimately, no, it's not really a thing that happens very often. Sometimes you get it in Marvel movies. They did when Cap picked up Mjolnir in Endgame, but it doesn't happen very often, no.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it's more of a cultural thing over there. Jammer, what about your theater? Was there a big uproar for Yoda?
Yes, there was.
Yeah. There was here too. I like the Yoda scene. I like
love the Yoda
I like
scene.
him using the Force. I think his speech to Luke makes sense about failure, being a good teacher, and a lot of the stuff that Yoda, and I wanted to mention this earlier, but you two wouldn't shut up. No, I'm joking. Jammer, you mentioned grayness earlier and things about the Force being gray. And again, I know EU got it. There was a philosophy called the unifying Force, and I actually think they're heading that way with this sequel trilogy. That it's not just a light side and a dark side, but the Force is all encompassing, and it's more of what you do with it versus which side that you fall on. And I think we're going to see like that gray Jedi type mentality with Kylo Ren.
The actions you take dictate what side you fall on anyway, so that doesn't make too much sense to me.
No,
if you do bad things, you are using the bad side. If you do things for yourself, then you're using the dark side of the Force. If you do things to help other people and use it passively, you're the light side of the Force. It's your choice.
But I think the point I think the point is that people are not one or the other. It's not binary. People can be both.
No, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I loved the idea of the unifying Force, and there's even books that go beyond that where Luke thinks that it's a mistake and goes back to the living Force, which is the light side and the dark side. So I like that stuff. Yoda, Jammer, go.
Yeah,
the Yoda
scene was really funny, or not just funny, but I love the fact that they brought in his humor, his sense of humor from Empire. I love the fact that he was a puppet. I know I was really concerned at first when he popped up and I was squinting. I was like, is he a puppet or is he CG? I'm not sure. So I definitely spent a few seconds kind of staring at the character. But yeah, he's a puppet and I love it. I love his attitude. I like the lesson a lot. As you mentioned, bringing up the Gray Jedi, I think that's what this is all about is letting not what Luke is learning is that it's not about killing the Jedi. It's about changing them, about changing from the old dogmatic style. Because if you want to go dogmatic style, he should have killed Kylo Ren, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he should have pushed aside his personal feelings.
Mace Windu was going to kill Palpatine until Anakin
he should have pushed aside his
the dark side because Palpatine was unarmed at the time, or
but he should have pushed aside his personal feelings and not have any personal ties whatsoever, and just become basically a monk. And I think what Luke should have learned, and what he did learn, is that, like, okay, that wasn't the way to go, but also full eradication, maybe not the way to go either. It's somewhere in between. And I think it's about the grayness, about being able to embrace both the light and dark sides of the Force. It's a very Asian thing, which is cool because Star Wars is very Asian inspired in general. It's a very Asian idea where it's not good versus evil, conquering each other. It's about there being a balance between them, and not just a balance of one side is evil, one side is there, but also internal conflict with oneself. It's not just about I'm purely good or purely evil. It's like I have both sides within me. So I like the fact that it's becoming less of an external black and white and more of an internal black and white.
Cam?
I actually agree. These are my views on the Force anyway. That backs up my view on the whole kind of balance of it all anyway. And to me, the difference between the prequel trilogy Jedi and what Yoda taught Luke was that it was different from that. It wasn't dogmatic. So Luke was supposed to be the next variation in the Jedi, and he did have attachment. You know, the whole idea of the Jedi and the PT is get them young so they have no attachment to anyone. But Luke's already formed all these personal attachments, and those personal attachments and the desire to save his friends actually help set things in motion. And as long as he chooses to always do the good thing, it's fine. He won't turn to the dark side just because he's got attachments to people. Actually, that's vital. And I always felt that was where the Force Ghost thing came in as well, because they kind of allude to that a little bit in like the Clone Wars, and like the whole point is like Qui-Gon can come back because he actually feels some personal attachment towards Anakin. Yoda and Obi-Wan can appear back because they have this personal attachment towards Luke. You know, that kind of thing, because, you know, it's not just, you know, I'm part of the Force now, I have no care about what happens in the real world. They still care enough about the people that are alive that they're able to come back. So that kind of backs up a lot of my views on it anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that as long as you do good stuff, you're going to be light. It's like the reality is you're going to make mistakes that are going to skew dark, but you're going to learn from them and then try to fix it for later and do more this way. So it's a bit of both.
It's not necessarily that you make one bad mistake, you're then in the dark side forevermore, but the point of the dark side is the temptation of it. The temptation to use the Force for your own needs.
Selfish reasons.
Not to help other people. Luke always looks at it in the old trilogy altruistically, whereas the Sith look at it for themselves. That's the difference between the two.
I got this question for you, Cam, since you and I are both kind of on very, very deep into Jedi philosophies and stuff like that throughout things like the EU and the trilogies. If I was a Jedi and I used the Force to get the remote control for my TV, is that using the dark side?
Oh, shit.
It's pretty selfish, right?
I think when it comes, I think Anakin says himself they would be very grumpy at him using the Force for something like that. It should only be used for certain things. However, you know, the consequences of those actions are minimal. So I think it depends on the consequences of your actions. You know, if you use the Force to pick your nose, how does that disturb the universe in any way? But if you use the Force to
we're getting way
planet,
too far into it. I was just joking.
No, but it's a good point. Like, I think it is about consequence. Okay. It's about what negative consequence does it have on life. If it doesn't have any, I think it's fine.
that goes with the unifying Force ideology. There's even a scene where I don't think it was Luke. Was it Ben? Solo, not Ben. Ben Skywalker, or was it Jason Solo? In a good way, uses Force lightning in a good way, as part of this whole idea that that's a weapon that we can use as Jedi, and it's not necessarily a dark side power. I can't remember who it was.
I don't like that idea just off the top of my head, because I always felt like that was something where like your anger is manifested in this ability.
Look, you could sit there and say Luke uses the dark side when he chokes the fuck out of some Gamorreans on Tatooine and Jedi.
Or anything like that. He just disables them and lets them go.
Well, Force lightning doesn't always kill you. Luke survived.
Well, only because he gets saved. And it seems as if Palpatine's teasing Luke.
Teasing with him, playing with him. It's not full straight.
Yeah, really quick, I have to make this important point. So I have my notebook that I write my notes in. I went to the bathroom and my wife wrote this down. Your mom is a whore and should have told you. How rude. And why were his pants so high? I think that was for Kylo Ren. That's all.
Okay.
Nice. I like it. Okay, so for this next part, we've got three major things that are about to happen. We have the Red Room. We have Finn and Rose's mission. And then we have Poe, Holdo, and Leia. So what I want to do is kind of want to talk about all of these, not bouncing back and forth, but I want to talk about their whole thing together, and then we'll get to Crate. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead and start with Finn and Rose. They have left Canto Bite. They're on their way to sneaking onto Snoke's ship. Does Snoke's ship have a name, Cam? I really don't remember.
I don't know.
Sir
know. It was never mentioned in the... And you know, being the way I feel about this film, I didn't exactly look up the technical manuals. So.
It's called The Supremacy. There we go. So they're going to sneak up onto the Supremacy. I'm using the wrong word. I know I am. But they're going to sneak onto the Supremacy, and they're going to take out the tracking device. This goes all the way back to, like the beginning of the movie. One of my least favorite things that happens in this is BB-8's rival, the little black and gray droid that becomes his... Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Okay, rival? What do you mean? They don't have a freaking tete-a-tete or anything.
It's the way he looks. It's like he gives this little like evil look. Like, hey, I'm a bad
I can't think of a better word for it.
I know what you mean, but okay.
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to describe it other than it's kind of reminds me of Maggie on The Simpsons and that baby with the unibrow.
Exactly. That's it. Nemesis. Maggie's nemesis.
Nemesis might be. Yeah, sure. So they're. They go ahead and they sneak through, and you really think DJ's going to be a good guy. He helps them out get into that room, but the little droid has already alerted people, and they meet them in the room with a device that can track them. They're arrested. They find out that DJ has betrayed them, not just betrayed them, but betrayed the entire resistance. Told them that, hey, they're going to use cloaking technology to get on these ships and leave, because Poe had told him, hey, this is what Holdo's trying to do. I need you to hurry the hell up. There is, of course, the light speed fight that we'll get to when we talk about Holdo and whatnot, or the light speed crash. It causes the ships to break apart, and we get Phasma. Phasma is used again very poorly. She does get one more fight scene with Finn. And then they escape.
Okay.
So that's basically that whole scene. Cam, your take on those actions.
So, this is my least favourite part of this whole section of the film. That's unsurprising given the way I felt about Canto Bite and the way they've developed those characters. I didn't particularly like DJ, but while they were on there, I had the same thoughts about you about the droid. But Phasma was just horrible. The way Phasma just appears like, haha, FN127, whatever his fucking name is. I have you now. It was that kind of moustache twirling nonsense. And then they have this stupid fight. Why do they keep making Finn have sword fights? What's I don't know what is this fascination with Finn and sword fights in this trilogy? He's not a Jedi and he's not any good at it. They've got all this blaster technology and the two of them are having a sword fight. I didn't like the fight. I thought Phasma was brought back just to bring her back in because why not? She hadn't been used enough in the first one. Well, if you're going to bring her in, give her some characterization. She does absolutely nothing, even less than she does in the first film, and then just falls over into some abyss.
I don't know about that. I don't know about less than the first film.
Well, I suppose
I'm not going to say she was used well here, but
I wouldn't surprise me if she survived that fucking fall into the abyss of that fire, and that J.J. Abrams brings her back for a scene in The Rise of Skywalker. Haha, Finn! We have fought twice before. Now the third time shall be the decider. On guard! You know what I mean? And they do that kind of thing again. Fuck off. And I hate the whole BB-8 taking over the whole
ATST.
The whole action scene is rubbish. It doesn't. I'm not excited. I think it's boring. I don't think it's particularly well shot, and I don't think it matters to the story in any way whatsoever.
Okay, Jammer, go ahead and tell us how this is the greatest ground fight scene in all of Star Wars history.
Well, it's not, but we have.
I know, I'm just messing.
But we
with
have
you.
What's it called? I do really love DJ, his character, and
I do too. I actually do.
I especially love that moment where, because I bought that. Yeah, he made a deal. He's a survivor. But then that moment where Finn was like, "You're wrong," and he was just like, "Maybe." Like, yeah, I might be wrong. I'm not. I have no dog in this fight. I'm just surviving. Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, I'm going to be gone soon with my money, so later. I just like that. It was like he's just a survivor. He's kind of an opportunist and probably also a bit of a victim, so it's just like, I'm just here to survive. But I'm also not going to tell you that you're wrong because it's not consequential to me. I just like the idea of that character quite a bit.
I think it just summed up the whole, that none of this mattered. DJ was just the audience going, maybe this matters, maybe it doesn't. Fuck it, I'll get my money and I'm out of here.
No. I because to me it just sums up the philosophy of the movie, where it's not black and white, and it's not just because he cut a deal and screwed them over. It doesn't necessarily mean he's a complete piece of shit or an unreasonable. Like I
get that. That wasn't really one of my major issues with it. So I'm not going. I was just joking. I'm not really arguing.
Oh, okay.
But but the fight scene, I don't like the BB-8 stuff. I didn't mind that Phasma came back. I just think I feel like they should have had a little bit more of her earlier to sort of see it into this. Mm-hmm. And then also they cut that extra scene between her and him and Finn, where they more directly address each other's personal differences, philosophical differences, and they cut that out. I don't know why they did that. That would have made it better. But, I wouldn't say it's. I agree. The CG is a bit wonky. The action, it worked, but I think in context of everything else that is going on, that is not that scene. Between Kylo Ren and Rey and Holdo and all that. I think it's such a small part that it wasn't there enough to really bother me that much. And yeah, it worked with the rest of the story, even if it wasn't the strongest part.
Are you upset, because you didn't get to talk with us about The Force Awakens, are you upset just in general with how Phasma's been used in both of these movies and this sequel trilogy?
Yeah, upset isn't the right word. I think it's just wasted. It's wasted. They Boba Fetted her, they gave her a cool costume, and they advertised the hell out of her, and then nothing, really. She's kind of a shit character.
That's how we feel about it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have anything left to say about Finn, Rose, and Phasma and whatnot? Nope. Okay. So now let's talk about Holdo, the mutiny, and then the reverse mutiny, the waking up of Leia. Mm-hmm. Poe goes ahead with his group of people that apparently Holdo didn't tell them the plan either. Finds out a little bit about the plan. Decides to mutiny against Holdo. Has them held. I don't know why he left his guards to hold them on the bridge. They should have walked them to the brig. If you're going to mutiny and you're going to put your captain, you're going to put them in a locked room.
Because Ryan Johnson needed them to be able to escape.
Yeah, I know.
And he couldn't be bothered thinking of a good reason why.
So Poe goes to the bridge. He's communicating with Finn. That's how they know. That's how DJ finds out about the idea to send the shuttles to the planet Crate. And Leia comes in. She uses something to cut the doors open. She blasts in using, I think she uses the Force on the door because the door kind of explodes inwards. And then she shoots Finn with a with a stun ray. I like it. It's the same stun beam, the circles, concentric circles. Is that the right word?
Yeah, or the one that shot her in the first.
Yeah, that shot her in A New Hope. So I like that. I did like the C-3PO. I've said this last call podcast. 3PO and R2. I get wanting to sell toys, and I like BB-8. But I have missed 3PO and R2 so much, especially after I watched the OT earlier this year for Last Call. I miss 3PO and R2.
Them being together, it's not... It's them being together because they work off each other so well, and that's been...
But I did like his little bit with Poe. I thought that was very 3PO-ish. I really did like that. Leia, she knocks Poe out. They decide, hey, we're going to go with Holdo's plan. We're going to take these ships and go onto Crate and wait for our allies. Holdo says, I'm going to stay on board. Make sure you guys can get away. Somebody's got to pilot this so they don't see you guys going over there. And then they're betrayed by DJ. Holdo goes ahead and decides she's going to lightspeed ram because hyperspace does things in hyperspace, or things in real space affect things in hyperspace and vice versa. So I like this technological jump. I will say this, however, you can program autopilot. She could have left with autopilot and gotten on a shuttle. Yeah. And you can also program light speed jumps. Since they did this, what I would have done is I would have evacuated that medical frigate a while ago and light speed jumped it into the Supremacy a long time ago during this chase.
Yeah, once you realize they can do that, you think, why? I think that was a lot of people.
Right, so it's just another example. Yeah, it's just another example of all these things that could have been different. But she does it, and it's a beautiful scene, and I love the dead silence of it.
It's funny. I remember they put the signs on the theater doors. People like that silence. It's funny because I don't think I'm trying to remember the last time I never paid attention to that part, but I was like, I'm going to listen for the sound. It wasn't even complete silence. It was like vroom, the entire time. Yeah. So what fucking idiots thought that the freaking sound went out? What the hell?
It must have been test audiences, eh?
Something. You guys will have to forgive me. I had a complete brain fart. Who did I go to first for the last part?
Hell if I know.
Cam or Jammer?
I don't know.
You don't. Okay. All right, Jammer. So we'll let you go first then anyways. The Holdo stuff leading up to the mutiny, Holdo, the light speed jump.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with most of what you just said as far as the military stuff. It worked for me in the moment, didn't take me out of it. And at the end of the day, the mutiny really didn't work and it didn't change anything. And they were able to overcome it. And follow through with their plan. But yeah, all that stuff. And then the hyperspace jump all the way through the ships, I thought, oh, that's really cool. And I like the way it all culminated and cross-cut between all the other events that were happening at the same time. I thought that was really, really interesting and fun to watch.
So, Cam, besides the tactical things that we already discussed, what else do you have to say about that scene?
I like the light speed, the visuals of it. I thought that was really cool. Other than that, I think it's all rubbish because it's completely... just nothing has any long-lasting consequences. The one mutinies, the other mutiny, and none of it really matters. And that, to me, is bad writing 101. When you do things and nothing changes at the end of it, you've just done it for the sake of advancing the plot along. And that, to me, is all that happened there. And it all goes back to stupid leadership by Holdo in the first place. So I don't have any emotional feeling about anything that happens in that section. And if a movie's not giving you any emotional feeling at a point, then it's not doing a good job for you.
Okay,
it worked for me.
So now let's talk the Red Room. That's what we call it, right? Red Room?
Yeah, we can.
Or is it Throne Room?
Yeah, it's called Snoke's Throne Room, but whatever.
Yeah, probably.
Red Room.
Okay. I like it red. It's red. You know.
I like the Red
It's
Room.
Red Room.
Yeah. It's my fucking podcast of all mine and Cam's, and we're using Red Room.
Yeah.
All right. I loved everything in this scene. I understand. I want to be upfront. I know there's a lot of people that really love the Revenge of the Sith lightsaber fight, and I always point out how that's dancing and twirling with blue fucking glow sticks, and that I don't like that from Revenge of the Sith. People will hate on this fight because of a couple of CGI issues. There's a Red Guard that obviously has two weapons, and they kind of messed up. That other weapon he had would have stabbed Rey, and so instead they CGI out, and it's very obvious when it happens. There are some technical mistakes. To all of those that say that, I will remind you that an angle and rotoscoping issue in A New Hope made it look like Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber had turned off.
Yeah.
I remember that. I always remember
Lucas
that as a
never-
kid. I didn't understand. Like, I thought it was like
Yep.
running out of juice or something.
Lucas doesn't fix it.
There definitely
He
was a
doesn't
period
fix
in
it.
my life where I mixed up Spaceballs and Star Wars. You know how they have to plug in their lightsabers? And I know when I was young enough, I was like, do they have to plug them in? And I thought that was a moment where it was like going out or something.
I thought
Here's
that
what
was
upsets me
when
about that,
Vader
though.
was saying, like, you're growing weak at that point. I thought that his power helped activate the lightsaber.
The
or
Force
something
helped
like
the
that when I was a
lightsaber?
kid, yeah.
I just don't know why, between the special editions, the DVDs, and the Blu-ray releases, why they never went in. That's an easy fix.
I think they did fix it, didn't they?
No, it is in the
Did they fix
Blu-rays.
it on the
It's fixed
Blu-rays?
Blu-ray now, yeah.
Okay, so they finally fixed it on the Blu-rays. I don't watch those, so I didn't know, but I know it wasn't fixed for the special edition.
No.
So, I will point those things out to people about the lightsaber fights. Rey is brought into Snoke with Kylo. Snoke fucking tosses her around. He pulls her first. I think she's trying to fight back. I think that's part of why she's so tense. She's trying to fight back. And then he pushes her away. He's torturing her. After he lets her go, she tries to snatch the lightsaber. He shows just how strong he is by having it go around, hit her in the head, and come back to him. And then this is where all of Kylo's where I thought he was going to make his big turn. This is his conflict. And I love how everything Snoke says about Kylo's resolve. He sees who his true enemy is. I see what he's about to do. I can feel it. I can see it. And it was true. Everything was true.
Yeah.
Kylo's real enemy was Snoke. He goes ahead and he offs Snoke in a really cool way.
So
the lightsaber.
cool.
Yeah, it was.
I saw that. I was like,
Yeah, we had cheering in the theater for that. Did you,
Yeah.
Jammer?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cam, I don't even care. You Europeans
You
have
already
no
know
souls.
the answer.
It's like it's just a bunch of people going bollocks.
That's a
So,
horrible accent. Bollocks.
Bollocks.
So an incredibly awesome, to me, an awesome duel happens. Yes, there's a couple technical issues. However, tactically, I tried to pay extra attention, and there were a few times there was some spinning and twirling.
Yeah.
But it looked like it made sense to spin away from an attack or twirl into an attack of your own. It didn't look like it was with Obi-Wan and Anakin and Sith, where they're literally fucking dancing. The colors of the Red Room, especially when it starts burning up, I think are absolutely gorgeous. They end up defeating the Red Guards. We have our whole, let the past die moment. The whole fight over the lightsaber, which was really cool. The lightsaber explodes. The power inside basically knocks both Rey and Kylo out, but Rey obviously comes up first to escape. Kylo is laying down on the ground when Hux comes and finds him, almost gets the opportunity to shoot him. I did like that moment.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and then we have the time where Kylo says, who's the our supreme leader is dead, like questioning, I'm your fucking supreme leader now, bitch. And I really like that. Like everything in this I like, besides the technical issues. That's fine with me. Cam, Red Room, go.
Okay, so we'll have to start by saying that I do like the scene. I like the fight. I think again, this I agree with you, Kyle. All that shitty twirling in the prequels was too much. This felt like a proper fight with people that weren't just cardboard cutouts to be cut to bits. It felt as if there was an actual fight going on here, and they were outnumbered, so that kind of evened the odds a little bit. Plus, they had some cool weapons which you would need to know how to fight against and everything like that. So I really like the fight. I like all the stuff that Snoke's telling them. I think there was a little bit of a touch even on the whole Chosen One thing here, because he talks about the legacy of Vader again, you know what I mean? And so that's all fine. I think probably what I really wanted to happen there, but I understand that this is a choice that they made, right? But I think what I really would have preferred here was to see Kylo Ren actually turn back to the good side and even kill Snoke, but have found out that, or maybe saying that wouldn't necessarily be him dead and defeated, and actually have kind of Kylo go back to the good side might have been a better film here. But the way they decided to go with it, I was absolutely fine. But to me, the finality here was that, right, they've made this decision that Kylo Ren is not going to be getting redeemed. That was the moment for me where he had the chance to either redeem or decide to go after his own selfish means, and he wanted to be supreme leader and in control, and he made that selfish choice at that point. So to me, that took away that Kylo Ren would be redeemed. I feel, and I haven't seen it, none of us have seen it, we'll talk about this on December the 20th, of course, in more detail, but I feel that they've brought the Emperor back now simply to redeem Kylo Ren, and I think that kind of makes this scene worse, because if you're going to redeem Kylo Ren, I think it should have happened at that point, and Snoke could have been the villain that remained going into the Rise of Skywalker, rather than bring Palpatine back, which to me kind of diminishes everything that Vader did in the first place. And everything we've been talking about balance and about that dramatic moment, the prophecy, I know Jammer thinks it's a lot of shit. If the Emperor actually survived somehow, then all of that really didn't mean anything to me, and I think that is what we're going to see happen. I've said it from the first time the Emperor was brought back. I said, I was on a podcast with Jammer actually as the news broke, and we kind of watched it, and I think I remember at first saying, I'm in, that's cool. And then see about 2 hours later that night, I was like, wait a minute, and I started thinking about this, and I thought, this doesn't work for me, actually.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Snoke is so powerful in this scene. I mean, these are two Force users. The power he's demonstrating, would you agree, goes far beyond whatever Palpatine demonstrated in any of the movies so far here?
I think there's a chance that Snoke might not... He's not a Sith. And I think even J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson said he's not a Sith, which means he's possibly learned from other types of Force users, and so I'm okay with it.
This is my point. I need to know why there's this so powerful dark side user that is even more powerful, the Emperor, and he just sat back and wasn't a competitor of the Emperor's, or that the Emperor wouldn't have seen him as actually, fuck the Jedi, this guy's the main threat for me, because I can feel his presence.
We're just going to find out he's a Papa Palpatine clone of his own. No, I'm joking. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, but I just think it would have been better for us to find out actually he was Darth Plagueis. It would have linked it back to the prequel trilogy.
I didn't mind that he wasn't.
No, because Darth Plagueis, the Emperor said, had found how to cheat death. So you've already got a canonical reason for him being as strong as that, and it would have allowed you to kill him, but Kylo could have then explained later on, that actually that isn't him dead, that was just a body he was inhabiting, he's a spirit, and it could have been, how do we actually defeat that in the next one?
But right before we get to Jammer's response, I will say this about that, Cam. I'm okay with most of that. I would have rather Snoke returned somehow, some way in Skywalker than the Emperor, because I'm like you, I have some fears about what the implications for the OT are by bringing Palpatine back. But Jammer, your take on the Red Room?
I like the build up. I like the fact that he was able Snoke was sensing the intentions behind what's his name, Kylo Ren, but the wrong ones, and that's how he was cocky as fuck, and that's why it worked. Kind of like what happened with the Emperor, where the Emperor didn't realize that Vader was gonna throw him over the edge. So it was a nice little mirroring there. The fight scene, I thought it was fine. I remember I was surprised at how strong the Praetorian guards were. I was like, oh, these guys they're not just going through them really quickly. This is like a legit fight scene. And emotionally, I thought it worked for me. I loved the fact that Kylo decided to help her, but also he was still turned towards the dark, and I'll talk about that in a bit. The fight scene itself, there's some issues with it. I know choreographing wise, like, it's not the strongest, but emotionally and in terms of the story, it works really well for me. If you really look closely at a lot of stuff, there's some bad fighting choreography going on here, but I don't really care about that stuff. As long as it's enough to convince me that they're fighting, I'm totally fine with it. So,
is it better than the PT?
It's different. It's not dancey, but there are some actual choreography issues that if you cared about that stuff, I could see it bothering you, but I don't, so it doesn't. So yeah, there's that. And as far as Kylo Ren turning fully dark, I should say, I do. This is kind of a hint towards the third act a bit, but over the course of the past 24 hours, I've been seeing sort of a potential way for him to kind of be redeemed, but kind of not. I don't think he's going to go fully light. I think he is going to continue being gray. But I also think a part of it is going to be because the second he turns fully to as sort of the new supreme leader, he makes a bunch of really stupid. My cat just fell. A bunch of stupid emotional decisions, and I could see in the third movie, people being like, oh, "We don't want this guy being our leader because he makes dumb decisions based on impulse." And I could see him being as like someone who is kind of being slowly pushed out of the First Order, and kind of goes to the other people for, selfish help in a way. So I could see him being utilized in a way that I could see it justified him maybe going more gray, even if it's not a full-on redemption, but still being not fully dark, if that makes sense. Yeah. I could see him being the Vegeta of the franchise for this, for example, for those Dragon Ball Z people.
I'd prefer him to be that gray. I think I said that with Cam on a podcast when we were talking about the Rise of Skywalker trailers. I think having him partially redeemed as a gray Jedi is where it's going, and I hope it's that over a full-blown light side redemption. Well, listen, I really do.
To go full-blown light side, he has to die, right? For to have done, thematically how this works in movies. It's a 101 thing. The only way to fully redeem is to sacrifice your life at the end of it. Yeah. So the only way he gets fully redeemed is if he does something that sacrifices his life to save everybody else's. So could you see that happening and he's dead at the end, or do you see a situation where he's partially redeemed and he actually remains alive at the end of the film? I mean, this is just...
I like the second one.
Yeah.
I like the second one better because the first one is too much of a retread, and I don't think we need another retread.
Okay.
And I fear we're getting that retread.
Yeah.
I fear we are as well, and I agree with you that I'd prefer the latter also.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I love Hux wanting to kill Kylo Ren. I love their relationship.
Yes, I did.
There are a couple of bickering brothers, and I could see Hux becoming more of like a threat, where he's that more logical reason, because he gets in create like sort of the brunt of the attack from Kylo Ren, and I could see him being like, "Fuck this guy. We need to think more common sense than shooting at one target and completely ignoring the actual point of the mission."
Yeah. So, did you have something else to say about Hux, or are you going to save it, Cam, for when we get to? Okay.
No.
All right. What?
No, I'm fine. I'll talk about Hux.
Okay. You just kept kind of like sounding like you were starting something, and I don't want to cut everybody off.
Agreeing.
Okay, cool. So here we go. We get to Crate. All right. Rey has escaped in the Millennium and returned to the Millennium Falcon because Chewie was piloting it. They don't show her escaping, but we figure that out when we do see her.
I mean, she does say that it sets it up in advance, So.
Exactly. The ground forces there on Crate are told by Finn after he crash lands in his escape ship with Rose and BB-8 that they're going to use this Death Star, miniaturized Death Star tech. I'm okay with them using that. The rebels, the Resistance, locked themselves in this old mining shaft with some really cool Pokemon.
Yeah.
I like the Pokemon.
Yeah, me too.
And I actually want one of those Pokemon.
Me too.
Because let's face it, I know I'm kind of joking here, but that's a fucking Pokemon, right?
No, totally.
Yeah. And so they plan an attack to go out and try to take out this miniature Death Star tech, which kind of reminds me of something from Cam's most favorite EU book. Doesn't it kind of look like a small Darksaber, Cam?
I suppose it does. Yeah, it actually does. Although the way that was used in the book was 10 times worse than that.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, like in a miniaturized form, it's okay.
Yeah, basically the Darksaber was it Durga the Hutt was building
it was
a giant
just
lightsaber
a Death Star,
in space.
But just the laser bit, so it wasn't as big. It was just the laser bit, which kind of stupid, right?
It was. It was not a great book.
It was horrible.
But anyways, so they're gonna go and use some speeders, some skid speeders, which I will complain about here in just a second.
Yeah,
I know. Me and you both, Cam. They're going to use these skid speeders to go and attack this thing. The Millennium Falcon does show up to take the TIE fighters away from the speeders. And the speeders are being attacked by walkers. And let's talk about that. I'll go ahead and give my feelings. First off, where the fuck are the T-47 speeders? Those are the snow speeders from Empire Strikes Back. They aren't always snow speeders. You remember in Empire they're saying that they are having troubles modifying them for the cold. So the T-47 speeders, if this is an old Rebel base, they would have T-47s there, almost guaranteed.
Well, maybe they moved them somewhere.
But it goes beyond that.
Possibly.
It goes beyond to the point where...
But the technology thing again, like you said earlier with the bombers, why, when you have air speeders, why would you have something that requires a skid? I mean, it doesn't really make any sense except for to draw color.
Something like that. It's literally just to
Not
draw
anymore.
Fancy patterns.
Draw colorful lines in the salt.
If you
That's
had
what it was
something
designed
powered
for.
by wind, I could understand why you would need to anchor it to the ground. But all that's doing is creating drag on a thing that can fly without it.
It's got repulsor lifts.
It's just there to look good.
Yeah, and it does look pretty, but I don't like that. Let's go ahead and go all the way up to where Finn is saved by Rose. Finn is going to crash into the Death Star laser in order to shut it down. Rose saves him. I'll say this about that before I let Jammer take over. When she rams him, first off, I think that crash would have killed one or both of them, more than likely. Number two, there's no way all of those walkers allow Finn and Rose to get back to the door.
Yeah.
Like, they crash right in front of these walkers. A stormtrooper is going to poke his head out the window, or the walker's going to point its weapons at him. Even if they don't see them come out of their ships, they're going to shoot those ships just in case. I don't buy that at all. That's another one of those things that just...
It's a first draft
logic.
of a script, and then as you get through it, you realise, this is a bit of a plot hole here. I need to kind of have a reason. I need to think about this a little bit more.
Yeah, so I don't like that. There's some technical things there, but the ground battle of Crate and the Millennium Falcon dogfight, which is meant to be exactly like the asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back in my mind. Jammer, go.
What? The asteroid fight? What?
So when the Millennium Falcon takes the TIE fighters away from...
I'm going to convince you that's not the case, Kyle. Because there's a worse aspect to this. To me, it actually copies completely. It's the Death Star run in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
I could see it as that way, too. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, yeah. I mean,
either way, it's copying.
Even the way the salt things go across, it's actually done so that almost you could transpose that to that inside of the Death Star. And the way bits
that's
were
a good
all
point.
crisscrossing. And it's the same music. It's exactly the same music from that part. The Death Star running Return of the Jedi as well.
That's a good point.
It's too much a copy for me. I enjoy it, it's fun, but when you look at it again and again, you just think that's exactly the same. Even visually, he's just copied that completely.
Okay, well, go ahead and finish up any other comments you got about the ground battle since you interrupted Jammer so rudely. I'm joking, but go ahead and finish up. Anything else to say about the ground battle?
The skiffs are a stupid idea. The walkers don't seem to really do anything. The Millennium Falcon fight, that's the best part of it, but it looks just as if he's copied Return of the Jedi completely for me. It just visually looks too similar to that. And then the crash with Finn, I totally agree with you. It's stupid to have those two characters right in front of all those walkers, and they do absolutely nothing to them and let them walk all the way back to the base. It just doesn't make any sense. Nobody would do that. And that's not even getting into the line, which is the worst line. To me, this is a line as bad as any in the prequels, when Rose turns around and she says, it's not about killing what we hate. We have to save what we love. And then she kisses him and faints. That's bad acting. It's badly written. No. Not for me.
All right, Jammer.
So
you're up.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. That's a bad line. It's a cringy moment. And yeah, I never understood why they were able to make it back. The fight itself, I think it's fine. I don't care about the practicality of the ships, and I didn't notice the thing being.
You don't care. That doesn't bother you. That
no, because to me,
why would that
Because to me, they took all of the ships when they left, all the good ships when they left, and left those behind.
No, it goes beyond that. Who fundamentally in a universe, which sane person in a universe that has technology where you can have repulsors? We're talking about Luke's sand speeder back in A New Hope is more advanced than these fucking things. Do you know what I mean? Why would anybody create a thing that goes in the air and drags against the ground? You just don't do that. It's a stupid design choice.
It is, but Jammer, go ahead.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, like, my guess is that they left the shitty stuff there, the stuff that no longer worked for one reason or another, or the stuff that was just poorly designed, and they took the good stuff when they left. And so yes, I don't mind that. I really didn't notice it, didn't care. I thought it looks cool. And as far as the emotional scene, the Millennium Falcon flying, I thought that was fine. I liked Chewie leading those things and the Porg yelling. I thought that was funny. The one from the trailer, the part from the trailer. And then I like Finn's arc, even though it was annoying that I didn't mind her preventing him from killing himself, but I just didn't like that line at the end at all. But I do kind of.
You like the fact that he was willing to sacrifice himself.
That's his arc being complete in the story. And oh my God, fucking cat. Sorry. That's his arc being completely finished, and or at least in this part, and I'm interested to see where he goes next. But I think that's what I want to talk about more when we finish, is just the how
the feelings after the recap and
stuff. The stuff having to do with the character arcs, I think, really worked for me, and I think Finn's was great as well.
Okay, so we're done with the ground battle pretty much. Let's talk Luke Skywalker coming in. Luke comes in to talk to Leia. He's dressed in his black Jedi robes. He looks a little bit younger. To the fans, now, of course, we know what happens. To the fans, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, he cleaned himself up before he got there. That's what I figured. Like, that's what I thought. I really didn't see the force projection thing coming yet. But he goes and he talks to Leia. This is after Leia's the spark is out speech. This is another one of those areas where I was like, this delivery, this take, maybe she was tired. I don't know, but just the way she's like, the spark is out. It wasn't delivered very well for me. Luke comes in. He tells Leia straight up, he goes, I can't save him. And Leia responds, I know my son is gone. Luke immediately responds, no one is ever really gone. Those two lines together seem to contradict, or do you guys, I'll ask Jammer first. Okay, well, go ahead, Cam. Do you think, how do you fix that?
I thought that was a bit contradictory. I think, it was kind of like saying, yes, we agree that he's made his decision and this is it. He's definitely, went completely to an unsavable point now. He's going to be the villain of the third piece. But at the same time, the next director might not want that, so I'll throw the line a bit.
Well, what do you think? What do you think, Jammer, about those two lines? I can't save him. Well, my son is gone. Well, no one is ever really gone. Doesn't that kind of contradict?
It doesn't really. Here's the thing: like, you can't save him, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like he's always been him. He's always been that way. Like, he's not. Just because he turned dark doesn't mean he ceased to be himself. That's been a part of him from day one. Okay.
All right. Well, I just wanted you guys' opinions on those ones, because to me they seemed off. I didn't quite like it. The Luke scene was well received in my theater. He walks out there. They say, Kylo's like, I want all weapons to fire on that man. My only issue, like, when the dust clears, my theater cheered, right? Of course. My only issue was the two 2000s brush it off your shoulder move. I did not like that whatsoever. It rubs me wrong every time I see it. Then Kylo comes down and faces Luke himself. They have their conversation where, he's like, I failed you, Ben. I'm sorry about that. Ben says, when I killed you, I will have killed the last Jedi. Luke delivers the same line that he delivered to Rey about everything you said in that sentence was completely wrong. And then they have their quote-unquote duel before it's revealed that Luke is nothing but a force projection. Now, I'll say this one more time. I know a lot of people had issues with Luke being a force projection. This is something that they did pull from the EU. Luke, at one point, actually had an entire fight where his physical body, where one creature was being fought through force projection and through physical means by another group of people. So him force projecting, I completely bought it. I actually liked it and enjoyed it.
They actually set it up in the movie because Kylo Ren mentions to Rey, "You can't be here. The strength would have killed you." So they actually do set it up earlier on in the film as well.
Yep. So I like that. Kylo figures out that it is indeed a force projection, and Luke says, "See you later, kid." Jammer. This scene from Luke showing up to Luke disappearing.
Fucking awesome. I love it. I love it so much. I love I love how unhinged Kylo Ren is. And where he's like, I love the way he says, "Get what was it? Blow that piece of junk out of the sky." That line was great.
Yes.
And then when he shoots, what's his name, Luke, and then I thought for a second, oh fuck, they just killed him like that. Like for a second, I was like, they did it. Interesting. That's one way to go. And then he cleared, and then he brushed off his shoulders.
Imagine now they had done that. Imagine the uproar of that.
No, it's funny when that happened. I was like, I kind of like that. That's interesting. That's unexpected, no. And it's realistic at the end of the day because it's like he's a fucking dude. He's not going to be able to just, I don't know, not
force block.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to be able to force block that?
Anticlimactic though. It becomes almost comical if you do that. But
I kind of appreciate things when they're that, when it's like you think emotionally that something big is going to happen, and then it's just like, oh
yeah,
that.
I honestly thought for a second that he was, there's a force ability that Vader exhibits in Empire Strikes Back. When Han shoots him, he absorbs those blaster bolts, and he does it in Rogue One as well. That's what I thought Luke was going to do, is he was going to absorb all of that energy and then push those walkers or crumple those walkers or throw them like far away. That's what I thought was going to happen.
But that's not this movie. I think the thing
too much. I mean, that would have then been that he could have really picked up his laser sword and defeated the Empire in his own. That I don't think that's the point.
Yeah,
you know?
but I did love it emotionally. I think it worked. I love just seeing the rage in Kylo Ren as he's trying to take out Luke, and just the pettiness and the fact that he is letting it ruin the tactical stuff. Like you have Hux trying to be like, "Do you think you got him?" And then he starts to try to do stuff, and he just like knocks him aside, and then just basically says, "Let me down." And I'm like, this guy is making really stupid decisions, but is really strong, and no one's gonna fuck with him. So like, I get what happened there, and I that's why I'm thinking in the future they're gonna it's gonna slowly end up turning on him to the point where he's gonna have to turn to the Resistance for help in some way. That's what maybe it's going to happen. That'd be cool. But yeah, I love the fight. I love the music. I think the music is at its strongest here. And I just think it's a really cool and unique emotional climax because it does exactly what it sets itself up for. It gives us a cool confrontation scene, but it's not Luke going out with his laser sword and taking on the entire rebellion. It's doing it in a different way. It's a distraction. And it's, let's see what I have written down here. Double check here. I thought the line was good. It says, "Strike me down and I'll always be with you like your father." And I like that because it makes it clear that he's still not over the fact that he killed his father, and that it's just that's really weighing on him. Let's see here. Blinded by this Kylo Ren blinded by personal, even Hux tries. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Cam, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I mean, I like this scene as well. I actually agree with both of you guys. It's a really well done scene. I don't really have any issues with Luke having force projected himself. As I say, I think it would have... My thing was I was quite happy for Luke to remain not there and have to come back in that way at the end. I just felt he could have given Rey a bit more guidance that would have sent her on her path earlier on in the movie. I had guessed it right away, I must admit. I know probably a lot of people wouldn't, but the way that they were very specific about the salt thing and the tracks that it made, and then when Luke walked out, the first step he walks past that same guard who's in the trench, and his footsteps don't make any pattern on the salt.
I didn't catch that the first time.
I noticed that right away, so I had kind of... To me, it was just obvious what was going on, and then when the blasters happened, I kind of was like, well, yeah. Before the dust even settled, I thought, well, yeah, he's not really there, you know. But that didn't change my enjoyment of it at all. It was well done.
Okay, Cool. Am I the only person that didn't like the brush it off your shoulder? I really, maybe it's because I don't like that song.
I think he's trying to antagonize.
Yes, I got that.
I mean, I don't think that's not a physical expression that originated in the 2000s. It's existed for, I'm assuming, for as long as people have had hands and shoulders.
The song.
Even in Galaxy.
I remember the song. That's what I'm getting at. I remember the song, and it I don't know. It was weird to me. It felt
Bruce Lee
too
did it in Enter
earthbound.
of the Dragon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. Like I said, the first thing that pops into my mind is that song. So, anyways, Luke disappears. It was a really emotional moment. I love the music that plays with it. You know, going back to the twin sunset on Tatooine. I absolutely love the visuals there, and the way he fades away is done really well. Then we get to the escape of the Resistance. They meet. Well, I'll say this. Does anybody really hate the fucking dice? The Millennium Falcon dice? Because I feel like Solo was made almost only to make sure that this dice moment, I'm joking, but I don't like the dice. The dice were never important. They're like seen once or twice in the entire original trilogy.
They're trying to make fetch a thing.
What do you think was the whole... What was that?
They're trying to make fetch a thing. Does no one else get that? No one watched Mean Girls?
No.
That thing? The girl kept trying to use the word fetch as a slang word. And then at one point she's like, stop trying to make fetch a thing. And that's basically what these dice are, is Disney trying to make the dice an important thing. It's like, it was never an important thing. Stop trying to make it a thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, did you have something to say about that, Cam?
No, I agree. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it, but like, I care.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Way.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I do mind it. I don't like it.
I mean, I don't like it in Solo, but I don't mind it in this movie because it's like, I get the dice were there before and like, oh, okay, I guess when he picked it up, I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to assume that the dice were there the whole time. Maybe I should look in the future and see if the dice are there. And I didn't even think about it other than that.
Got it. So the dice disappears. Kylo realizes that Rey is going to get away. Let's talk about Cam's most favorite thing in this world, the lifting of the rock. So Rey uses both the Force and the tracker that Leia has to track where the Resistance is going to be coming out of, and then the foxes, the Pokemon, she sees them and she's like, okay, that's the area, but the area is blocked off by rocks. Rey lifts what must be at least 5 to 10 tons of rocks using the Force to allow the Resistance out of the caves and to board the Millennium Falcon. I know a lot of people have issues with Rey lifting so many rocks when Yoda had trouble lifting one X-Wing. Mm-hmm. I personally don't. Believe it or not, what I was really angry about was Leia not using the Force to start moving rocks herself.
Yes. Now, this is the way you make this work. Leia links with her across the rocks. They link minds and they both hold their hands out together and there's like some coordinated effort between them.
I mean, they can't do that if they're on opposite sides of the rocks.
Why? It's the Force.
They
the
can,
Force
I thought you said hold hands.
No,
they're holding their hands out.
Visually,
okay.
show that they're
visually.
I was like, how can they hold hands when they're not near each other?
So, like,
holding their hands out.
Two Jedi together can always do more things than one alone. Now, to me, Leia should be more powerful than Rey at this point because she's older. She's had the Force for longer. She must have learned
she's a Skywalker
more than Rey has. I mean, Rey's obviously super powerful, so irrespective of who she is, she's powerful. So we get that. She's not just some standard Jedi. But surely Leia should have either been able to do it herself, which would again showed Leia being more powerful and being cooler, and maybe hinted that Leia will be the one to train Rey properly in the Jedi in the next film. Now, I know in hindsight that can't really be done, and maybe they were planning something like that, but just based on that movie, that's what I would have done in that scene.
So there you go, Jammer. Anything to say about the Resistance escaping?
Yeah. So as
Leia,
far as
should she have used the Force?
Here's the thing
Rey?
about Leia. It's like I'm totally on board with Leia being Force sensitive and having some abilities, but I'm also of the opinion that like I don't think she necessarily embraced Force training that much to the point where she would have been necessarily even thought to do that. I think maybe that what happened with the with the explosion was kind of like an instinct thing, and she's had aspects of it, but I don't think she's in any position to train. I think she's focused more on being a good general and trying to lead a resistance politically and stuff. I think that's her focus. So I don't know.
Do you think she could have moved some of the rocks?
Maybe
from
some
the
of them,
inside?
yeah, but I don't know if like I don't know if like she would have.
Together, like that, like
what?
to two of them together, like because they would have.
I mean, yeah,
together.
they could have. Honestly, it didn't really bother me that she didn't. It just bothered me more that Rey did. But I've been thinking about things, and I'm trying to like think of some justification, either that Lucasfilm is going to have one in the third one as to why she's so powerful. But then I also thought, and believe it or not, Broom Boy at the end of this thing made me think about it. The kid who uses the Force to move the broom,
Yeah.
and for
With the really
I never
bad
had
CGI.
I never had a problem with Rey being able to fight, because she was alone from a young age and had to fight for herself. That never bothered me. The Force sensitivity stuff, it kind of irked me, and I was like, how does she know these things? But then I realized like she probably did on some level utilize the Force instinctively without realizing how important it was. And maybe because of that and her having to survive her entire life, maybe like that Broom Boy, she does have instinctual use that has allowed her to be stronger than your average person. But I don't know. It still kind of bothers me, and I hope they kind of explain it, but yeah.
Yeah. I had no issues with her lifting that many rocks. It didn't concern me because I know the Force can be very, very powerful in different people and manifest in different ways. Like I said, as soon as she showed up at the rocks, I thought Leia should start moving some of the ones from the inside. That's basically all I thought about. But we're finally at the very end of the movie. They escape, and on the Millennium Falcon, we see that Rey has indeed stolen or not stolen, but used the... Yeah, no, fuck it. She stole the damn Jedi texts, the original Jedi texts, and she puts them, or they're in a drawer that Finn opens a drawer to get a jacket for Rose or something like that. And we get what is more like a scene from the end of Return of the Jedi with the pilots together and the military together, and they're kind of celebrating surviving versus the very somber ending that we got with Luke missing a hand and him and Leia looking out at a scene of space. And then we get the young boy... or a couple of kids talking about Luke Skywalker, showing us that some time has already passed and that the story of Luke Skywalker standing against the First Order is spreading. And then we get the obviously blue green screened room, boy using the Force to grab the broom. The whole thing, I don't care about that entire thing, is just how it reminds me of the prequel trilogy, how obvious the blue green screen work is. And it's like, you guys couldn't have gotten into a warehouse and had a kid, sweeping a warehouse. You, like, what the fuck? And that's the end of the movie. Cam, your take on any of that?
I just particularly don't like the end of the film. That bit where they go back to the little boy with the broom, I think could have been done earlier. I think the perfect ending to this movie is actually Luke's death. I think, having them maybe realise earlier on that Luke's dying rather than that he is actually dead might have been better, so that we could have finished, because that was a beautiful shot, him fading away to the twin sunset, and that feels like more a closing shot of a Star Wars film to me. It'd have been more poignant than the one we actually got. I know they would have had to change a couple of things when about to do that, but this is one of my points. Sometimes, you have to be willing to change your script in order to make everything just zing a little bit better for me.
Okay. Jammer, ending?
I like the ending. I like the fact that it's not just about surviving. It's not just about the characters. It's about the spark being lit from within, and that Finn and Rose meeting with those kids ended up sort of lighting a little spark from within there as well, and the legend is continuing and all in that. And it's cool that it begins with, or it ends with, this sort of feeling of hope that it's not just the resistance itself that survived, but it started off inciting things other places as well. So I think from a message standpoint, I actually like that it ended that way.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. The credits roll on The Last Jedi, and the most divisive film in cinema history has been made. I don't know, maybe The Last Temptation of Christ was more divisive or at least controversial, but this one was pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jammer, your immediate feelings after watching the movie this time.
My immediate feelings were I liked it as much as I did last time I watched it. And the stuff that, I mean, clearly there are lots of issues in terms of military tactics and all that, but it really didn't bother me at all. Even when I was trying to keep an eye out for it and just pay attention to it. In the context of the film, I just didn't care. Like, it really didn't bother me. I think the movie is really emotionally sophisticated. It is the most emotionally nuanced Star Wars movie to date. It's very low scope, high scale, low scope, high stakes, where literally it's the end of, it could be the end of everything, but it's all very self-contained. And I also think it's really ambitious with its character work. And it has 3 separate, maybe 4 separate dynamic characters that are being moved throughout the movie and they're being changed throughout in a really interesting way. So I think it's fantastic.
All right, Cam, what did you think?
One question for Jammer. Do you still think it is a better film than Empire Strikes Back? Having been on the Empire Strikes Back last podcast, where there's hardly a criticism come out at all from either the 3 of us the whole way through it, do you still think that The Last Jedi is a better movie than The Empire Strikes Back?
I don't think necessarily it's better, but I think I enjoy watching it more because it's more internal and it's more character driven than Empire.
Okay.
All right, Cam, your feelings after watching it this time?
I mean,
your 3rd time ever?
There's nothing else to say really at this point. You know, everything I had to say about it, I said during it. I feel exactly the same way as I did when I watched it the last time. I don't like the movie. I think it's got a lot of problems, and I think it creates a lot of problems for both the franchise as a whole, and how to finish things off from here because of the way Rian Johnson decided to carry things forward in this film. I think Abrams has got a really hard job in his hand trying to make a decent movie of this, and I'm not convinced he's going to do that.
Well, I know you got to get going, Cam, so I want to ask the last 4 questions real quick, and then me and Jammer can mention a little bit about Rise of Skywalker. Cam, your worst and best actors for this movie.
Okay, so best actor, Adam Driver, hands down.
Yep.
Worst actor, still Gleeson for me. And I just think he's like doing some weird Camp Hitler impression through everything in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I just don't like him at all.
All right, and what did you think was your worst scene and your best scene?
I think the best scene's the Yoda scene for me. I think that's the part where it felt most like a Star Wars film. In terms of worst scene, it's really hard to pick, but almost the entire middle of the film that's got to do with the mutiny and Canto Bite, I just don't really like any of that at all.
Okay. Well, Cam, we'll go ahead and let people know where they can find you at online. Thank you so much for being a part of the Last Call podcast. I know you got to get going, so me and Jammer will finish this one up. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are checking out Cam at LRM_Cam. And yeah, listen to this. Go back and listen to the other podcasts. Cam's led several of them, and we'll plug the rest of the stuff here in a minute. Cam, thank you for joining, man. Have a good day.
Later. Thanks very much. Cheers.
All right. So, Jammer, I know you wanted to discuss a little bit about, well, let me ask you those questions. Who did you think was the worst actor?
Kelly Marie Tran as Rose Tico.
Okay. Any reason why you find her? Well, you actually like Gleeson.
Yeah, I like her. I like him, and some of her line delivery is a bit weird. Maybe it's the way the lines were written, but some of it was kind of just, it felt a little golly gee willikers to me, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that.
I have a bias against Gleeson as Hux. I know he's playing campy on purpose, but I don't think he should be, so I hate every time he's on screen, except
I love it
when he was reaching in his jacket to pull out the gun to shoot Kylo.
I did not like his character in The Force Awakens. I loved his character in this movie, because he was a punching bag. It's because I didn't like him, and I wanted him to be a punching bag, and then he was a punching bag, and it was very satisfying.
Okay. Who was the best actor for this film?
Adam Driver, easily.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you guys. And Cam, he's been phenomenal through everything that he's been in so far, and I can't wait to see what happened. Like, fuck everything else. I'm invested in Kylo Ren and his arc. I have things that I would like to see happen, but they don't necessarily have to happen that way. Worst scene in the movie for you?
I think her kissing him and saying, "We have to save what we love."
Okay, I actually picked the. I was split between the chasing on Canto Bite and
between
and
that
the Phasma fight. I like everything dealing with Phasma from the time she shows up to the time she dies. I hate that shit with a passion. If I have to gun to my head, pick one, the Canto Bite chase scene.
Yeah,
I absolutely
that was
hate
the
it.
one I was tossed between. Not necessarily the whole scene, but just the part where they get on the horses and run off. That part.
Okay. Best scene.
Luke versus Kylo Ren.
Okay, for me, it was actually Snoke, Rey, and Kylo leading up to before the duel. I absolutely love all of that stuff. It's amazing. It's emotional, and that was my absolute favorite. So, looking ahead.
Wait, no, I have more things to say overall.
Okay,
so
go ahead. Yeah, that's what I was going. Oh, more things to say about this movie. Okay, go ahead.
So I really appreciate the overall message of this thing. I mentioned the Grey Jedi stuff, the idea of not being afraid of change, and it's not about the Jedi dying, it's about them changing and about them evolving, and I really like that message. I also, even though I hated the line about saving what we love, I like the fact thematically that's exactly what happens with Luke. It's all about, and not only that, but he says, what am I going to do? Go in there with a laser sword and just take on the whole Empire or the whole First Order? That, and the fact that it doesn't undercut itself. That's what this was about. That whole third act was about him giving them time to save them and to help light something bigger, not just destroying things. And it was refreshing in a franchise we're criticizing it constantly for it being about destroying another Death Star, where that is not what they're doing here. They're doing something wholly different. I thought that was really cool. And I do think that there is a special attention to characters and character arcs in this one that we usually don't see in a Star Wars movie. You have the whole Poe arc. You have Finn basically learning to care about beyond himself and beyond his immediate area. And then you have Rey's learning to find the conviction within herself and not feel the need to get external validation. And I just think they're really interesting character arcs that, and as a result, a lot of the little minutia, the little military tactics, that stuff to me, it's not perfect, but I didn't notice it. And even when you mention it, like, I kind of like, oh yeah, that's wrong. But like, even after you have told me 95% of this stuff already. And so I went into the movie going like, all right, I'm ready to be annoyed by this stuff, but I wasn't. It didn't pull me out of it. I still hardly noticed it, and I just did not care that much. I also like the fact that, go ahead if you want to comment on that.
No, I was just going to say, for me, it's because of how much changes if certain things happen differently. Like, the entire movie is different if those bombers don't exist at the beginning. The entire movie's different if Poe is locked up and fired. The entire movie is different if Holdo shares her plan with the other leaders and the audience. Like, there's the whole movie is changed if the First Order sends one Star Destroyer ahead to pincer maneuver.
But at a certain point,
resistance, like, everything changes.
But at a certain point,
just one of those.
We're also projecting our own logic on a whole universe of people, and it's not. People don't always make the right decisions. And just because they don't make the right decisions doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong or it's a plot hole. It just means that they're not making that decision for one reason or another.
I don't know. That's literally both sides making choices that make no logical sense multiple times throughout the movie. And
the thing is that they don't make logical sense to you.
They don't make logical sense to a lot of people.
But to you. I'm talking about to a lot of people. But to a lot of people who maybe don't have the same experience, it's like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, oh yeah, good point. But I don't know. But then also you're making a lot of assumptions about the galaxy and like the state of the First Order, where things are and stuff that they could have utilized in a specific way. That
Well, they could have used their Star Destroyers that were behind the Supremacy. They didn't have to even call some in from the other area. They could have used a Star Destroyer right there that was in the fleet aiming at them.
Okay.
Or chasing the Resistance. And they could have used their TIE fighters, too.
But the thing is, I don't know about the TIE fighters, but as far as pincering ahead of somebody, like, they can't predict where it's going to go, the other ship. So they
know because they know they're running out of fuel. They even say that in the movie. We know they're running out of fuel. We'll catch up to them eventually.
Yeah, they're running out of fuel, but if you send people ahead in a pincer, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to turn so that they don't get pincered.
And you can still broadside them. You're like there's no logical way using Star Wars technology and Star Wars movies, not even just the EU.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that they just chase them like that. It takes me so far out. Like my feelings.
And I was expecting to feel that, and I didn't.
I know, and we all have like the different things that really get us, and there's lots of. I mean, I have to suspend my belief for a lot of things that don't make sense, but these ones were so glaring on so many levels that the way I wrote my notes, I said Luke reminds me of the EU. The way Rian Johnson answered things is frustrating at times. Regardless of his ideas, Disney should have known people would want some more answers based on reactions to The Force Awakens and how many fan theories existed. And I think that they should have worked more on like that whole plan thing. It kind of goes into the whole not having a plan. And then I wrote that the illogical chase, Finn and Rose kiss, and the military stuff frustrates me more than ever. And then what did I say? They didn't do enough from The Force Awakens, like answering enough, and they left too much to answer in Rise of Skywalker, and that's why I'm really afraid of how full Skywalker is going to fill.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that didn't.
What are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I didn't get that impression at all. I thought they answered. I think, and this is I'm not being condescending when I say this, but I do think that Lucasfilm for this movie was thinking, oh, we're going to go off, we're going to be able to try something really different and go off in a new direction and really just sort of imply that we're going to be changing things up for the future. And not necessarily just giving the most easy, satisfying answer to these questions. And fans don't want that. They want a lot of the same, but different.
Yeah, me and you've had that discussion where I'm with you. Like, killing Snoke was a good idea. Like, I like a lot of there's a lot of things that I like, but just in general, I think there were certain things that now, seeing what we've seen from images and trailers for the Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, man, you guys should have done some of that in Last Jedi. Like what? I don't mind if Rey is a nobody. I don't even mind if she's not a clone. You don't have to explain to me exactly why she's so powerful, except saying the Force is really strong with her. I'll buy that. But certain things dealing with like the Knights of Ren, the First Order, how they got so big, like there's just things I think should have been answered in the Last Jedi.
I really don't think they're going to answer any questions about the First Order and how it came to be, and I don't think they're going to get any of those answers. I don't think you ever were going to get those answers. Because that's not what they're interested in telling. They're interested in more of the character stuff than the world building. But
I think some of that, and because it's different. Everybody likes to point to the OT. We didn't know where the Empire or the Emperor was, and I agree 100%. We never knew how powerful the Emperor was. You don't know anything about him, and a lot of people look at the OT through the scope of having the stories from the PT as well. But I still think that the Empire was exactly that. It was already in charge of the galaxy, so it had material, it had a military, it was an empire. The First Order is built as a splinter group off of the legitimate government fighting the legitimate government. In this case, the First Order was the rebellion. So I felt like you kind of needed a little bit more about them, just like we got more about the rebellion. The rebellion was fighting against the evil empire because the empire had slaves and they treated people badly and they were blowing up planets. Things like that. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah. I think we could have used a little bit more of that in The Force Awakens, to be honest. I think that's when it would have been most beneficial.
That too. There's things that they should have done in both of them, and I will see what happens with the Rise of Skywalker. But thank you so much for being a part of this, man. This went way longer than we had originally expected to, so I appreciate everyone that listens to this podcast. It was a lot of fun, and it was civil. See? civil conversations about The Last Jedi can
No one's
happen.
opinion changed, but it was civil.
No one's opinion changed, but it was civil and it was entertaining.
I'm actually surprised at how much I still liked the movie. I was expecting to be really annoyed with it, but I wasn't, and I was just really surprised by that. I think I like it just as much as I did the first time I saw it.
Very cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you check out lrmonline.com for all of your entertainment news needs. We cover everything. Just go homepage it, make it open up. As soon as you open up your browser, you'll thank us later. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, LRM Online YouTube channel. Lots of celebrity interviews and grade A content on that YouTube channel. And of course, subscribe to the LRM Online Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts from. Great shows like Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, Los Fanboys, LR Mornings, LRM Ranks It, and of course, the Last Call podcast. We will be doing a spoiler-free episode the morning of the 20th of The Rise of Skywalker. Myself and Cam will be on that, and then later on in the afternoon, a spoiler-filled roundtable with myself, Cam, Nick Dahl, Joseph Jammer Medina, Brian Brantley, James Burns, I think that's it. But a big roundtable doing a full discussion on the wrapping up of the Skywalker saga. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel so you can get alerts as soon as those podcasts go up. Jammer, where can people find you at online?
You can find me on Twitter at JamTheWriter and all of my stuff at lrmonline.com.
You guys can find me at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening. May the Force be with you.
And also with you. I know it's a Catholic thing, but whatever.